I heard something interesting. I've got some recordings that I need to upload on my other phone, right? They're relevant and important. Um, but the topic today, yeah. So the other night, or a few nights ago, I was at work and I was frustrated. And I told you all about being frustrated, right? Like, why do I, you know, keep hearing this, and this? Like, just wanting to know why. Yeah. So, um, anyways, I ended up hearing you're in a snake pit. I was like, I have seen, you know, that in the skies. I have, I don't find it hard to believe, right? It's just a poisonous world. That's how I view it, right? So, anyways, I just was whatever, okay. I'm one of those people, I will just observe, move along whenever I need to, like, when it's supposed to make sense, it will, right? So, relatable work. So, I started at this new location not too long ago, right? At my old location, there is a guy that took the place of someone else. I never saw him because he worked my days off, right? So I come to this, and it's all women except for two guys, and one of them, all of them talk negatively about, right? They say mean things. And I had recorded this conversation with myself at work last night, right? Like, they all say mean things about him, always just have something negative. It just seems like every blame goes on him, yes. And I never say anything about it, right? I just, you know, right? Like, well, him being the kind heart that he is, worked for a lady so that she could spend Christmas with her grandbaby. So I had to relieve him last night. So I'm walking in. I'm not like the thought occurs to me, like all the things that they've said, but I'm not walking in with any assumptions, right? So I go in and I notice that every single complaint that they ever have, I'm not like, that's not my experience, right? Like, I don't see any of these issues that they're complaining about, right? And in fact, we had so much in common. And he's just a sweet, like, introvert. But he likes the same exact things that they like, right? But because they want to be mean girls, they don't get to know him or his interests or anything. They just say bad things and, like, blame it all on him. And then that's that, right? Because we all have similar interests. That's what's crazy about it, is we all have similar interests, yeah? Like, we all like natural medicine. We all like essential oils. Like, we all like our crystals. He burns incense. I like to come home and burn incense just because it's just part of my morning, right? Like, and these ladies are right there in that, right? So we get to talking last night, and goodness, we talked for 2.5 hours, right? And for introverts, it could be hard to, like, want to communicate with people. Introverts don't want to communicate with people who don't have anything worth talking about, right? Like, we're not surface level. So, anyways, by that was all done, by the time all that was done, that conversation, everything, I was just like, why are they being mean, right? Like, it was just a stark contrast between how people work, right? Then suddenly, like, so I listened to that lady's story, which I had started delving into last night. Like, there's different segments on that channel for like things that she talks about, right? We need to understand there are two different kinds of people on this planet with very many different experiences. Yes. There are some people that just do not have a concept of the spiritual, right? Like they just read something, they're like, that sounds good. That's what I am, right? But there's nothing that gives them a genuine like understanding or respect for why something is, yes or isn't, right? And then there's people who understand the spiritual, that understand why something is or isn't, right? Because of the experience of it or seeing it or being presented with it, right? And being taught to see and understand what they are uh, absorbing with the senses, yes? Like you got to be the student before you can be the teacher, right? But the definitions of like, it's shaky here. Yeah, it's shaky. But I was reading through that verse, right? And I was like, well, that makes a whole lot of sense, right? It makes a whole lot of sense, especially if you read the whole chapter. It's talking about like what's okay and what's not okay, like according to religion, right? And if you want to hear what Jesus said, go read the verse, go read the chapter. Yeah. Like there's a difference. Yeah. And there's too many people claiming to be something that are so finger pointy and wanting to judge other people's like spiritual paths and this and that, right? And they don't know anything about that, right? It's not a situation between you and everyone else, right? And sometimes it could take me days or a week or more to fully understand the information, right? Experiencing life and being in the presence of it, in the present of it, and then finding what's supposed to go with that, right, for this particular reason, is a much better teacher than listening to some coverall that may or may not apply to you at any given moment. Yes. That's why we resonate with certain things at certain times, right? Because we may need to learn that specific something at that time that may be specifically for us and our experiences at that particular time, right? There's a lot of people that could have looked at what I did. Like, if you listen to her story and she's talking about how she had those three dresses that were like, looked eerily similar to some bad times and stuff like I get rid of stuff for that reason, right? If I had a very difficult time or it just felt like it was like terrible energy, right? Um, I don't want to carry that with me. I'll get rid of it. I constantly change stuff out in my house all the time. Anytime I move to a new location, I do that, right? And then when someone hears that or sees that, they'll interpret however they want, right? And it's generally not even close, right? Not even close. Instead of just asking me, the person or the source, they just assume, accuse, and make whatever like statements, right? There's a lot of like mistranslations out there. Yeah, a lot of people have no business trying to make judgments. Yeah, I don't make judgments of other people. I don't. Nope. I look at how I, in my role in this interaction with this person is, right? Because that's what I can control. So if I can control me, that's not up for me. I don't control that. I don't decide that. I don't whatever, right? Like that's the external focus stuff. People have got to stop doing that. Right? Because we're going to be taught in ways that make sense to us. It was like I was reading through the comment section of her whole like video, and there was a guy, he's like, well, I'm not saying she's lying about the whole thing, but we know her physical body wasn't in hell for like 7 years. And he goes, I think she's having a hard time expressing blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, maybe, I said, she's explaining it just fine. Maybe your spiritual understanding needs some work, right? See, we're not going to resonate with every person that we hear, right? Some people's knowledge is deeper than others, right? You are going to match with whoever meets you on your level, right? And then I think somebody else commented, leave the spiritual work to people who understand spiritual stuff. And yeah, I mean, there is a big difference. There's a big difference in somebody just going and hearing this stuff over and over and over again, right? And somebody who has the sight, the experiences, been in the contrast environments, yeah, they have a whole other different understanding of the inner and outer workings, right? And the importance. I hear a buck out here somewhere. I don't know what that is. Sound like a turkey too. I know turkeys ain't running like that. Are you coming in, Meeks? Nips. You want to stay out here or come inside? Anywho, that's it.